Don't be shocked when the world puts the dirt you threw on someone who hasn't done anything wrong back in your own garden and forces you to eat what grows. Now, take a time to imagine this. Selected 1. Until the lion awakens, someone believes they can continue prodding it while laughing as if it were a game. This is precisely what's taking place. These individuals believe they could mistreat you with no repercussions. Similar like sprinkling water on a fire and hoping it goes out. In actuality, though, they failed to extinguish the fire. They increased the heat. The heat is slowly creeping back in their direction. You may take this truth to the bank. According to psychological research, those who purposefully hurt or lie about other people frequently project their own fears and guilt. And the more they attempt to conceal it, the more their behavior reveals it. You can help spread God's blessings by clicking the Super Thanks button on YouTube and contributing $20 or more. The cosmos isn't deceived at all. Furthermore, karma is not a nebulous, perhaps one-day concept. It's a domino effect. Every action creates a ripple, and eventually those ripples return to the coast. The seashore is their life right now, chosen one, and the tides are coming in quickly. And I'm grateful, selected 1. Remember to give back by just clicking like and subscribe to help get this message in front of more people. It is our collective duty to share the light. And I appreciate your participation in our effort. You belong to a force, a power that is felt everywhere, so it doesn't need to yell to be heard. Let's return to the actual situation at hand. This isn't only a little retribution. Karma like this causes people to sit up in bed at night and relive every decision they've ever made. These are people who believe they were cunning and that their falsehoods, rumors, and small-time behavior would make them appear strong. They also believe they would destroy you. However, this is what they failed to comprehend. They couldn't treat you like any other individual, like a precious treasure kept in a locked safe. You were someone the universe had discreetly protected. There was a quiet alert that went directly to the cosmic authorities, but they were too busy attempting to unlock the safe to notice it. Stillness does not imply blindness, but they misinterpreted your kindness for naivete, your calmness for stupidity, and your stillness for weakness. Being compassionate does not imply being vulnerable, and being calm does not imply being ignorant. They forgot that the cosmos depends on balance each time they attempted to dampen your light. You incur debt when you steal from someone who hasn't done you any damage. Additionally, debts must constantly be paid back, sometimes with interest. What's affecting them at the moment is that interest. Take a look at how it is developing. Their ideas are disintegrating one by one. They no longer impress the individuals they once did. Their circle is getting smaller. They are losing out on opportunities. And the identical energy that they directed at you is now around them like an unexpected boomerang. Karma, you see, isn't always obvious at first. It may be silent, slow, and surgical at times. However, it strikes precisely when it lands, resembling a surprise sniper fire. The actual kicker is right here. Not all of them caused this on their own. They pulled their loved ones, friends, and even strangers into their turmoil. Now, the burden is on everyone who contributed, even if it was only nodding along. This is why this message's title is perfect. Everyone is becoming more at ease. Nobody is getting away. They are now pleading and wishing that they had simply left you alone. Thus, comprehend this as we go more into this message, selected 1. You didn't require retribution. You didn't have to do anything. They didn't have to battle for you. The universe discovered that they had saved receipts and is sending them an unavoidable payment plan. Knowing that the same stillness they took for weakness was also your best defense. All you have to do is keep going. Are you prepared to follow me through this process step by step, chosen 1? And see firsthand how the universe is arranging the outcomes for each and every individual who has a role to play. If you already sense the truth in what is being spoken, leave a remark with 777. If this message resonates with you, think about expressing your gratitude to the group that helps you discover these realities. Every ounce of assistance, be it a contribution, a sharing, or a word, keeps our effort going. This effort is fueled by your enthusiasm. And by working together, we ensure that more people hear what others have attempted to keep quiet. Now inhale deeply and relax, because you will be compelled to stick with me to the very end if you have actually experienced the burning they put you through. Let's get started. First of all, they believed you to be prey. They recently discovered that you are the trap. You are not excavating the grave of someone the universe is protecting when you attempt to bury them. Your own is being dug, and the first person to fall in will be you. You were seen as simply another easy victim, someone they could use, toy with, and then discard like yesterday's garbage. They thought they could spew lies in your name and never experience the sting of their own words choking them. However, they were mistaken. You were never simply someone, which is why it's so incorrect. You served as a catalyst for a rule that was more severe, more ancient, and more cruel than they could have ever dreamed. Now, take a moment to imagine this. Selected 1. A burglar enters a residence, believing it to be deserted. Nothing to alert them, no noise, no lights. Thinking they're safe, they slip inside only to discover that the walls are packed with cameras, motion sensors, and quiet alarms. It's too late by the time they know it. This is precisely what took place. They believed they could enter your life covertly, change everything, and then disappear without a trace. However, the countdown began as soon as they touched something that wasn't theirs. And now they are recorded in the universe. Malice permeates every action, every word, and every thought. They weren't simply hurting your feelings, you see. They were interfering with a force that functions outside the bounds of human reason. The problem is this: whether people accept it or not, cosmic law operates without their consent. They could never bully you for fun since you were never a normal human target. You were and remain a walking balance contract. When someone hurts you without reason, the universe puts their name in the debt book. Additionally, debts in this field are not eliminated. They are gathered. Why didn't the universe stop them sooner? I know some selected ones are thinking right now, why had I to endure all of that suffering? This is your response. Because teachings are not wasted in the cosmos. Your suffering did not give them the right to triumph. They used that rope to hang themselves. They were writing their own bill each time they attempted to make you seem bad. The payment is now due. They were unaware that they were entering a test. Each and every conversation with you was a component of an invisible test. Did they intend to be decent? Would they choose justice, or would they take advantage of, influence, and betray? Both of us are aware of their decision. And now all those who participated in that decision, each and every rumor, provocateur, and quiet observer who delighted in seeing you suffer, is receiving their fair part of the consequences. The fact that their relationships are breaking down, their initiatives are failing, and their reputations are sliding away from them like sand is no accident. Spitting at the wind results in that. The harsh poetry in this comes back to haunt you. They believed they were in charge. They mistakenly believed they were the hunters. However, they were constantly moving closer to a trap that they had created for themselves. You didn't need to do anything. That's the main thing killing them. They cannot accuse you of doing anything by pointing at you. No plans for retaliation, no smear campaigns on your part, and no last-ditch efforts to level the playing field. You simply continued to walk. And now the most eerie thing they have ever heard is the stillness they used to giggle at. Some even experience it physically. When they recall what they did to you, the unease in their chest, the constriction in their throat at hearing your name, the unexpected bad luck that seems to follow them no matter how hard they try to run. They know in their hearts, but they won't say it aloud. Did all this start when I messed with them? Is a question they can't get out of their heads. It did indeed. In actuality, you were never merely a person to be subdued or handled. You were the physical representation of an unbreakable law. Your life was not the only thing they affected. The area was protected, and the repercussions of breaking that zone are not immediate. They smashed through the door. They are currently seated in the same shadows that they attempted to cast you into before. The only difference is that you were strong enough to endure it. No, they don't. They're rushing, making excuses, blaming others, or blaming poor luck. Anything but acknowledging the reality. The reality is also straightforward. You should have been left alone by them. This type of karma is unaffected by their pleas, tears, or vows to change. It's moving already. Already, the devastation is coming. Even worse, some of them haven't yet witnessed the entire storm. Right now, they're only experiencing the wind before the rain. Let this serve as a reminder for the selected one. You were never helpless. You served as a mirror. They exposed themselves after examining you. The good ones made it through the test. The others are residing in the rubble that they have created for themselves. Furthermore, there is no way to reverse the legislation they violated, no matter how much they would want to. You can help spread God's blessings by clicking the Super Thanks button on YouTube and contributing $20 or more. They are currently living out their ending, which they pinned the day they betrayed you. Second, you were just allowing them to hang themselves, but they saw your quiet as a sign of submission. When provoked, a tiger does not always roar. Sometimes it merely observes, since it is aware that the jungle changes the instant it moves. They believed they had broken you because they observed your composed countenance, your peaceful gait, and your inability to lose your temper. They also assumed you were weak since you were standing motionless. However, they were unaware that each time you remained silent, each time you allowed their falsehoods to be accepted without resistance, and each time you opted for peace over open conflict, you were containing a power that, if set loose, would not have survived. Consider this selected one. You're the one clutching the other end of a rope that someone else is clinging onto while they hang over a precipice. They're hurling rocks at you and yelling abuses at you because they think you won't ever let go. And you don't initially, since you are aware that gravity will take care of the rest as soon as you let go of the rope. You were that person, in the hopes that they would halt before it was too late. You were buying them time by holding their rope. However, they continued to tug, shake, and test your hold until you eventually took a step back. They pleaded for the decrease that is now there. Silence isn't always a sign of weakness. You have a loaded weapon that you have decided not to discharge. What they could do to you didn't scare you. You knew what you were capable of doing to them. You were aware that your influence, truth, words, and receipts might quickly put a stop to their little act. You were aware that their entire image might be destroyed by a single, well-thought-out action on your behalf. However, you also had knowledge that they did not. When power is unchecked, pandemonium results. You had the authority, but you also had the self-control to refrain from using it unless it was absolutely required. Cowardice wasn't what that was. Sacred restraint, that was. Allow me to respond to the query that is currently occupying your thoughts. But why should I even have been required to hold back? Knowing the weight of your own hand is one of your selected strengths. You had the option to swing and hit the target, but you also understood that once you made a move, there was no turning back. Sparing people for their own sake isn't always the goal of restraint. It's about refusing to let their disarray control how you behave. They deserve to be protected, but you weren't. You were safeguarding your own frequency, tranquility, and compliance with the rule of balance. They don't get mercy because they deserve it. You have nothing to prove, therefore it's handed to you. Here's a different perspective on things. Imagine millions of gallons of water being held back by a dam. There are villages, crops, and entire lives on the other side of that dam that might be destroyed in a matter of minutes if the wall collapsed. That dam was you. Every slight, treachery, and smear campaign was like water accumulating behind you, and you suppressed it rather than allowing it to spill out and drown them right away. You knew the cosmos would take care of it in its own time and manner without you ever having to break your hands on the wheel, not because they were worth preserving. Here's the problem, though. That control was mistaken for tenderness. They assumed you couldn't fight at all since you wouldn't compete on their level. As a result, they became louder, crueler, and harsher, and you were the pause that separated action from repercussion. You stood between them and the punishment they were pleading for, which is the only reason the storm didn't come sooner. They didn't win because of your quiet. It served as a warning. They believed they had won each time you left. However, they were unaware that the real struggle was about to start after you left. You weren't the one battling it this time, though. The cosmos took your position once you moved out of the way. They're now figuring out how the universe's view of repercussions differs from yours. It would have been neat and crisp like yours. The version of the universe. It's layered, gradual, and unavoidable. It takes more than just their pride. It steals their stability, comfort, and phony sense of control. And choose one, so you may stand here now without feeling guilty. Being silent didn't cost you anything. If nothing else, you got a kick out of seeing the same individuals who made fun of your quiet now choke on it. They have lost their audacity. Their phony self-assurance has crumbled. As if your name were cursed, the same voices that were so loud while you were silent are now quivering, mumbling, and avoiding it. There is more to the quiet before the storm. It's packed with all that the storm has in store. They'll realize that you weren't weak when they look back. The full power of what they summoned down on themselves was kept at bay by you. And that protection disappeared as soon as you moved out of the way. This is why their current karma isn't just plain terrible luck. It's the precise culmination of every shove, every provocation, and every instance in which they disregarded the holy limits of your soul. There was no storm in you. You were the obstacle preventing it. They were able to confront the power they had been taunting, testing, and luring all along until you eventually stepped aside. They are now paying in ways that are impossible to conceal. Stress is causing their health to deteriorate. They are facing opposition from their partnerships. In order to avoid being caught in the aftermath, the individuals they believed would always be on their side are gradually moving away. They are being taught a lesson by more than simply life. When they felt helpless, the universe made sure they felt the consequences of every decision they made by sending them a bill with all of the receipts attached. And this is the worst reality of all. They know deep down that you could have put a stop to them long before karma showed up. They are aware that you possess the proof, the truth, and the ability to quickly expose their lies. They are aware that you gave them more opportunities than they merited. They now understand that the stillness they derided was the kindness that prevented a quicker, more brutal conclusion, and that knowledge is killing them more than any external consequence ever could. But there is a limit to kindness, and those who thought it was a sign of weakness will see why they should have left you alone when it runs out. Third, they attempted to obtain the signature of your soul. The bill is currently in their name. You can take a crown, but it will crush you rather than crown you if it wasn't made for your head. They did more than simply turn on you. The cosmos never gave them what they were reaching for. This was no little steal of attention, money, or time. This was an attempt to steal, falsify, and replicate your spiritual identity and all that was dear to you. They weren't content to merely stand next to you. They aspired to be you. They felt they could wear your essence as a garment. So they imitated your style, studied your walk, and took your phrases. Here's the reality, though. You cannot sell or transfer what is inside of you. The cosmos detects it instantaneously because it is engraved into your own being like a spiritual fingerprint. Consider this selected one. In the hopes of stealing a valuable gem, someone breaks into a vault. They believe they got away with it, but then they discover that the diamond is made to emit a tracking signal as soon as it comes into contact with the wrong hands. This is what took place. When they attempted to carry something that was never theirs, they set off a personalized karmic reaction that was exact, specialized, and unbeatable. Envy, according to psychologists, frequently motivates people to destroy or absorb something they are unable to generate. This is why these folks feigned admiration for you while also scheming to defraud you. They want your present without having to pay the cost of carrying it. The problem with spiritual thievery, however, is this. Attempting to download an application without the appropriate operating system is analogous to this. They believe they could run with your strength, but it's really causing their entire system to collapse, financially, emotionally, physically, and intellectually. Spiritual duties cannot be taken, despite their belief that they might deceive the cosmos. They have a task. Additionally, the weight of trying to fit yourself into a role you weren't made for can break you. They are confused, paranoid, and unstable as a result. Every phony praise, deceptive tactic, every effort to drain your light has been met with curiosity. Karma always bills the entire amount. They weren't just defeated. They can't bear the obligations they acquired. You didn't need to do anything. Their own demise resulted from the energy they toyed with. Because you don't just fail when you take from the sacred. It is the cosmos that audits you. Furthermore, that audit is never kind. Fourth, the glass injured their own hands as they attempted to break your picture. A falsehood can spread quickly, but the truth doesn't knock when it does. The door is kicked off its hinges. They had such confidence that they could delete you. They believed that the harm could be done with a few well-timed whispers and a sabotaged word in the right ear. They wanted to do more than simply damage your reputation. Before you entered the room, they wanted to remove it. However, they made a mistake by attempting to break you. Their own reflection was broken. Imagine this selected one. A rock is thrown at a mirror in the hopes that the reflection would vanish. Rather, the glass breaks, with each fragment pointing directly at them, magnifying the attacker's picture for everyone to see. This is what took place. The cosmos tilted the light further so that everyone could see who was holding the paintbrush the more they tried to discredit you. They acted, not only gossiped. Each falsehood was a spectacle. You can help spread God's blessings by clicking the Super Thanks button on YouTube and contributing $20 or more. All of the phony smiles were costumes. The audience clapped for a while. However, When the screenplay doesn't reflect reality, performances get stale. People become aware of the fissures. They recall what they personally seen. If what they said was true, why doesn't it add up? People begin to ask themselves, and gradually, one by one, the throng begins to lose faith. In reality, what they referred to as destroying your name was a confession, an admission of nervousness, jealousy, and the unease they experienced simply by being in your presence. They were reminded of every aspect of themselves that they were unable to confront just by your presence. They desired your departure because you were a live example of what they would never be, not because you had harmed them. And now, like a boomerang, the energy they directed against you has come full circle. Truths about them are now being repeated by the same tongues that were ready to hear falsehoods about you. They are now pointing to their trash with the same hands that applauded their stories. And the stage they constructed to make fun of you is now the open arena for their own demise. Your reputation didn't need to be defended. All you needed to do was remain steady, maintain your composure, and allow time to remove the mask. The world can now see that they did not damage your reputation. They revealed just their own. Fifth, they just turned on your warm mode, even though they believed they had broken you. Not all wounds cause you to close off. They provided access to doors you were unaware existed. They were certain that the blow they delivered would be the last chapter of your life. They believed the pain would make you a ghost of yourself. The loss would keep you crawling, and the treachery would empty you dry. They imagined you withdrawing into quiet, folding in on yourself, and leaving the game completely. Here's what they were unaware of, though. Ordinary people break, but chosen ones don't. We are not destroyed by pain. We are rewired by it. Consider this selected one. A precious relic has been buried for ages, dust-covered and unaltered. The relic is then exposed in all its splendor as a storm tears through the landscape one day, shattering the earth. That storm represented your anguish, betrayal, and sleepless nights. They were only breaking the shell that concealed your might, even if they believed they were burying you deeper. Diamonds are created by pressure, according to science. Unshakable leaders were molded by fresh hardships and ancient fighters. You experienced the very thing. Every cry, every sleepless night, and every isolated moment seemed like a code being entered into your soul, revealing something buried deep within your genetic makeup. A recollection of your true self, not only in this incarnation but throughout your whole existence. They gave you the blueprint to your higher self, even if they believed they had silenced you. You began to recognize patterns, motivations, and falsehoods that others were unable to detect. You began to talk authoritatively, move precisely, and carry yourself in a way that caused people to pause in the middle of their sentences. It was more than simply healing. Activation was this. What scares them now is this. They won't recognize you when you return. You're more astute, more calculated, and completely directed. The route ahead of you was cleared by the same storm that they believed would sink you. There are new opportunities. There is no more dead weight. You're getting aid from people you never thought you would. Those who wished for your destruction are forced to witness the entire time. You weren't broken by them. They dispelled the myth that you were helpless at all times. They created a version of you that moves as though it already knows where it's going by doing this. They sense it, but they are unable to express it. They are frightened because, as the chosen one, you are untouchable and not merely existing. Sixth, this is not bad luck. It is the price of crossing a soul that is shielded. There is no retaliation in the cosmos. Inventory is taken. After counting is complete, the invoice is sent to the precise location where payment is due. They're not experiencing a run of poor luck at the moment. It's more than just life or a rocky patch. For a spiritual crime they believed no one saw, it is the precise, itemized payment. The reward for abusing someone they should never have touched is every restless night, unexpected loss, and door slamming in their face. You picture this selected one. When someone believes no one is monitoring their use of a credit card they do not own, they continue to use it. They purchase, take, and enjoy until the day comes when they receive an interest-bearing bill and their name appears on the account. Karma is that. Crossing a holy entity is the accusation. The pain inherent is what's interesting. They now viewed your allegiance as if it were a commodity. They treated your affection as though it could be replaced. Like a banquet they could return to, they feasted on your soul. The thing they didn't see, though, is this. Someone marked you. marked for impact, for the type of energy that changes spaces and makes darkness uneasy, rather than for ego or attention. And the universe doesn't hesitate to warn when someone crosses that type of soul. They believe that your forbearance was a sign of weakness. No, it wasn't. It was elegance.